Tottenham Hotspur 2, Manchester United 0.
Football predictions.
East Barber Rangers 0, Ipswich Town 1.
Football predictions.
Hi, it's Peter Guest, and I'm here with the Moose, and we're here for another episode of the FootballPredictions.net Premier League podcast, covering games for the 19th to the 21st of October 2024. And you can see all the details that we're about to, you can see the details for all the matches we're about to discuss in the podcast on our website, FootballPredictions.net, alongside fixtures from just about every other football competition that you can shake a stick at.
Yes, and on our website, it will show you where to watch the games on local broadcast channels plus video streaming services, as well as match odds from local bookmakers.
And if you look in the description of this podcast, you can find direct clickable links to all the matches we're going to discuss, geolocation and live streaming rules apply, 18 plus gamble aware. Let's get cracking on with the first lunchtime kickoff on Saturday, 19th of October, 12:30 in the UK. Tottenham Hotspur 9th, who take on West Ham United 12th. And visit footballpredictions.net and you'll find your local kickoff time, odds, lineups, predicted lineups, I should say, broadcast streaming channels tailored to your location for this match in the UK. It's on TalkSport Radio UK, Discovery Plus, TNT Sports, and all those kind of outlets. So yeah, look on the website, you'll see how you can watch it. Now, Tottenham Hotspur have, well, I wouldn't say run aground, but they were on such a great run, and they were looking so good at half time against Brighton, and that all fell apart.
Yeah, it did indeed, including the Europa League and League Cup, or EFL Cup as it's called, and the Premier League. Spurs actually had 5 wins in a row before going into that game at Brighton, and at halftime, Spurs were up 2-0 at halftime. But ended up losing the game 3-2. So they'd be very keen to get back on track in this game against West Ham, which is a bit of a north-east London derby. Now, at Brighton, we did actually have a both teams to score prediction. It has to be said that was our main prediction for the game. So 3-2 more than settled the both teams to score in that particular game. Spurs, prior to that, they had 2 other away games. One was at Ferencváros in the Europa League, and we were spot on with a correct score prediction there. We had 2-1 Spurs. It ended 2-1 to Spurs. And then there was the Spurs don't normally go to Old Trafford and win, but this time did they win? They won 3-0 at Man United. In the Premier League, the last home game was a while back, actually, a month ago. They played Brentford at home. And it was a game where we predicted Spurs to win 2-1, and they ended up winning 3-1. So again, both teams to score prediction as well as the outcome for that one. In terms of West Ham United, they were looking on a bit of they were dropping towards the bottom of the table before playing Ipswich in a very key game for them. And did they go and win? Yes, they did indeed. They won 4-1. Last time out, and we predicted them to win that game 2-1. But so again, we had the outcome, and we had the both teams to score prediction correct on that one. We also had the both teams to score prediction correct in their most recent away game in the Premier League, because that was a 1-1 draw at Brentford. So they picked up points from the last 2. However, prior to that, they have been quite shaky. They only picked up wins so far this season against Crystal Palace and Ipswich, who are 2 teams right at the bottom of the league. So it'll be quite a difficult task awaiting them here at Spurs.
Yeah, and Spurs were really clicking before that Brighton game. And actually, I watched the first half of that Brighton game. They were on fire. I mean, they should have been even 3 or 4 goals ahead by half time. And they're playing probably the best I've seen them play for a very long, maybe since the days of Pochettino. But I don't know what happened at half time. Must have been an inspired talk by Brighton, because they came out and did the same thing back. I'm hearing as well that it's a potential that Heung-min Son and Richarlison maybe have recovered from their injuries, are in full training. So they might have pretty much a full squad to choose from, and let's have a look. Pretty much, apart from Odegaard. Whereas West Ham on the other side, like you said, dropped, and then they've had that win is that going to be a win that's going to sort of let them ease off a bit? Let's see. But all things are pointing to Spurs being really wanting to get back on track. And we think there'll be goals. There usually are when Spurs play. So over 2.5 goals is the prediction we're making for this. Unfortunately, you can only get 1.36 odds for that. Not very good, but that's what we think is going to happen. That's what we're going to stick by. We're going to go for a Tottenham win. Odds there are 1.48. So, yeah, not great odds there either. But maybe try this one. For a correct score prediction, we've gone for 3-0 to Spurs. And we can get odds at the moment of 13 for that, or 12 to 1. So you might want to have a look at the correct score market, maybe 3-0, 3-1 or something around about that, because Spurs do tend to score score and concede. So, but in this one, we're thinking they won't, and maybe Solanke will get another goal, and maybe Brennan Johnson can score for his 7th consecutive game. That would be something. Let's see if that can eventuate. Anyways, in our poll, just so you know, 81% of you think 81% think Tottenham will win, 9% West Ham, and 10% think a draw. Anyway, let's see how that one pans out. Next up, we've got Manchester United 14th in the table, taking on Brentford above them in 11th. That one's on Saturday, the 19th of October. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff, and you can find your local kickoff time, game odds, and available broadcast streaming channels for this match on our page on footballpredictions.net. And Manchester United, they've not won since, was it the EFL Cup game against Barnsley?
Yeah, which is over a month ago as of the recording of this podcast, but also before the weekend's game against Brentford. So yeah, 5 games now for Man U without a win. I think what the United fans have been clinging on to is that they have had 3 clean sheets away from home in a row, which is a while since that has happened. But I think apart from that, there's not really that much more to celebrate, because United's actually only managed to score 3 goals in the last 5 games, and all 3 goals were at Southampton in the Premier League. And it has to be said, those were Premier League games. So yeah, 4 games without a scored goal for United. However, they've had the international break to work on themselves. They're going to play a Brentford team. However, it's a Brentford team that's been doing pretty well. Like you said, they're in 11th. And when we look at our predictions for Brentford, we've actually been pretty spot on. Like, we had the outcome against Wolves. That was a 5-3 win. We had both teams to score against West Ham. That ended 1-1. We had them at Spurs to go down 2-1. They went down 3-1, but again, both teams to score and a Spurs win. An easier one was the home win against Leyton Orient. We had 3-0. It ended and over 2.5 goals. So Brentford win over 2.5 goals. It ended 3-1. At City, we thought Brentford were going to lose 3-1. They lost 2-1. Again, both teams to score. City win. And finally, if we look just at the last 6 games, at home to Southampton, we said Brentford were going to win 3-1, and they did win 3-1. So we've been looking pretty solid on our Brentford predictions. Man United, they haven't won in 5. However, they've also only lost 1 in 5. That was the Spurs home defeat. That was their most recent home game, which was at Old Trafford. Obviously, they lost 3-0 in that game. The most recent home win, that was in the League Cup, and that was against Barnsley. It was a 7-0 win. And just prior to that, they had that 3-0 away win at Southampton, which is their most recent win in the Premier League. But yeah, no goals since that Southampton game for United. Are they going to turn things around?
Good question. It seems that Ten Hag always seems to get that win when he needs to, doesn't he? To keep him in the job. So he must have some sort of lucky charm. But Brentford, I know that Brentford had that big win against Man U a couple of years ago, but that was at home, and away at Old Trafford they seemed not to be able to get over the line, although I think they had a draw last time out there, didn't they? So in the head-to-heads, it was 1-1, wasn't it? That was at Brentford as well. So yeah, we think that Ten Hag will save his own skin again, but we think it's going to be both teams to score. I mean, if you did watch that game against Spurs, they absolutely got taken apart, Manchester United at home. And they're going to want a reaction. The fans are going to want a reaction. Let's see if Eriksen can do something against his old club. He couldn't against Spurs, but maybe he will against Brentford. But both teams to score is what we've gone for. 1.53 are the odds you can get on that. We have, I mean, it's tentatively we've had to do it, but Manchester United to win, you can get 1.7 on the odds. I think a lot of the betting markets on Manchester United, because there are so many Man U supporters, do get favoured a little bit more than they should sometimes. But 1.7, they haven't been beaten in the league by Brentford in the last 3 games, but they haven't won at home in the last 2 league games, Manchester United. So be close, I think. But yeah, we think they'll get over the line. And we've gone for United win. Yeah, we've got United win 2-1. That's the correct score prediction. And odds on that you can get at 9.5. Look on our site, you can see all the predicted lineups for both sides and what we think and all the stats and everything. But in the poll that you guys decide on, 63% also think Manchester United will win, 21% Brentford, and 16% a draw. Yeah, you just don't know how they're going to go. But I suspect that they'll pull something out the bag and keep Eric in his job for the moment. Anyway, next up, we've got another featured game. Newcastle United, who are in 7th, doing pretty well, against Brighton, who are doing even better in 6th. They just keep bringing those players through, Brighton, and doing it so well with the managers. Kicks off on Saturday, the 19th of October. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff. And on footballpredictions.net, go to our page, and you can find, if you're outside the UK, your localized kickoff time and odds, not broadcast here, obviously, in the UK, TV channels and streaming services. Now, Newcastle, they didn't manage to beat Everton, but so they haven't actually had a win in the league for over a month themselves.
Yeah, they haven't, but to be honest, together with Brighton, they've had a pretty decent start to the Premier League. 7 games, just 1 defeat for both of them. Newcastle did manage to miss a penalty at Everton, which could probably have seen them win like we had predicted. They did win in the Carabao Cup or the EFL Cup at home to Wimbledon. That was hardly a surprise, but they did only beat Wimbledon 1-0 in that game. The most recent home game in the Premier League was against Man City, and that was a game we predicted to end with both teams to score, and it ended just about that because it ended 1-1, and that was just after Newcastle had that 3-1 defeat at Fulham, the only defeat of the season so far. So yeah, you could say if you look at Newcastle, look at the last 4 games, they've actually only managed that win against AFC Wimbledon, a draw at Everton, draw at home to City, and then a defeat at Fulham. Brighton, on the other hand, they came from a 4-2 defeat at Chelsea, one we predicted. We said they were going to lose that game 3-1. So again, with Chelsea to win, over 2.5 goals, but the main prediction was both teams to score. The main prediction was also both teams to score, and Brighton, Tottenham, and Spurs, that ended 3-2 to Brighton. But yeah, Brighton away from home, they've had some tricky games, it has to be said, because so far this season, they've played, apart from maybe the 3-0 win at the beginning of the season at Everton, they then played Arsenal and Chelsea. They got a 1-1 draw at Arsenal, another game where we said it was going to be both teams to score, and then they had that 4-2 defeat at Chelsea. But we do actually think that Brighton, going into this game, are really going to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite, even though they like to attack, they're also quite open at the back, as we saw against Tottenham.
And Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, and if you can take your chances against them, all of them, then a team should do okay. Newcastle are really good at home, and they have been a team that maybe is, I would say they started off playing not so well, but they kept getting results. So I think they might be getting into a bit of a groove now. We're going in this game for an over 2.5 goals game, which I think is probably a fairly safe bet. 1.53 are the odds you can get for that one up at St James's Park. And we think it'll be a Newcastle win. And we are going for a score of 3-0. So quite a comprehensive win for the Magpies. And you know what? Tell you what, this is good. If you go for a 3-0 win, you can get odds of 21 or 20-1. So that might be worth looking at. But, probably the bookies think that Brighton will score. But, yeah, if you get 3-0, and those kind of odds are very good. So we'll, see how that goes. But in terms of the betting markets, Newcastle win 1.95 at the minute. And Brighton win is out at 3.6 with 3.9 for a draw. So, yeah, in terms of what you think out there in a poll on the webpage. Just visit our webpage for this game. You'll be able to vote. 65% think Newcastle will win, 18% Brighton. Surprising, really, but yeah, Brighton away from home, maybe not as favoured as you might think. But I think it's the fact that Newcastle seem to be so strong, with that big, huge, raucous crowd behind them.
Yeah.
So anyway, the next game that we've got to look at, the final featured match, is Ipswich Town, who are down in 17th, but they are just below Everton, who are in 16th. This one's a 3:00 kickoff on Saturday, the 19th of October. And again, on our website, on a web page for this, on footballpredictions.net, you will find your localised kickoff time odds, TV channels and streaming services. That's if you're out of the country. Interestingly, this one is available on Bet365 if you're outside of the UK. So yeah, geolocation and live streaming rules apply. So you don't always get Premier League games on Bet365, but for this one you do. So well, Ipswich, they were drawing just about everything until West Ham.
Yeah, and I think the Ipswich supporters were looking to the West Ham game as one that they might create an upset. However, it went completely the opposite direction. West Ham beat Ipswich 4-1. We did have Ipswich down for a loss in that game because we said West Ham were going to win 2-1. But yeah, it ended 4-1 West Ham. So we had the outcome and the both teams to score prediction correct in that game. But yeah, prior to that, 5 straight draws, 4 in the Premier League. Ipswich have shown to be resilient against some of these teams. They had a 0-0 draw at Brighton. They had 2-2 at home to Aston Villa, who are sitting towards the top of the table. So they can manage something against these teams in the EPL, but when are they going to get that elusive first win? Because 7 matches in, no win so far. Scored just 6 goals. They have conceded 14, but it has to be said they did start the season playing Liverpool at home and Man City away. So that's a little bit of a just have to take that into consideration when you analyze Ipswich. Now, in terms of Everton, they finally got their first win of the season at home to Crystal Palace, another team struggling at the bottom of the Premier League. Palace currently sits 18th, also without a win. And in fact, if you look at Everton now, they have no defeats from their last 3 Premier League games. They did draw Southampton in the EFL Cup, but they did get knocked out on penalties. So they're not through in the EFL Cup. But they then had a draw at Leicester. Beat Palace at home, and then finally the most recent game they had a 0-0 draw against Newcastle United. I think no matter how you look at this game, this really is a game that it would be dangerous for Everton to lose this game. It's going to be a very, very tight and nervy game. I mean, Ipswich are match by match will be looking to want to win, but when is it going to happen? And do we think it's going to happen here?
Well, if you look at it, Everton are without an away win. It stretches over from before the season. They haven't won away in the last 14 matches. So yeah, it's a bit of a horror stretch for them. But then again, Ipswich, they haven't won home or away all season.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like, but Ipswich have had so many draws, and they haven't been beaten in the last couple of home matches. And they haven't won at home in the last 3 league matches. So it kind of says one team can't win and one team can't win away. What the other team can't win at all. But they're both drawing a lot. So we think it's going to pan out. Common sense anyway kind of leads to the fact this probably will be a draw. But we do think they both can be quite good teams to watch and they can score. So we've gone for a both teams to score prediction on this one, and the odds there are 1.67. Your full-time result prediction is a draw at 3.4 odds on a draw. So pretty good odds actually on the draw. You might want to bid on a draw, considering how many draws these two clubs have had in recent times. And we've gone for a correct score of 1-1. And if you like odds on that, the odds are 7 or 6 to 1. Looking at our poll. This might surprise you a little bit. 22% of people think Ipswich Town will win at home. 36% of people think Everton will win away. But a whopping 42% think it will be a draw. So more people think it'll be a draw than anything else. So no one can really split it. I think it would be quite nerve-wracking, because if there is a loser in that game, that won't be really good for their season panning out. I know it's early days, but
Definitely not.
Won't be a good indication. I suspect will one go above the other if they win? Probably yes.
Yeah.
But 1-1 is what we've gone for. And now let's move on to our sort of summary matches. Next up, we've got Fulham, who are 8th, who take on Aston Villa, who are up in 5th, doing quite well. This is on Saturday, 3:00 kickoff as well, 19th of October. And do go to our website, footballpredictions.net, or just click in the link in the description of this podcast. You'll find your local kickoff time, betting odds, and broadcast streaming options in your area. I know here it's available on the radio. Talk Sport 2 Radio UK have got that. Fulham, they unfortunately for them, they came unstuck against Man City, but it was only just.
Yes, they did. Now for this game, which is one of our summary games, Fulham, who sits 8th against Aston Villa in 5th, we've gone with a both teams to score correction. A both teams to score prediction, and a draw of 1-1.
Yep. Next game, we've got Southampton in 19th, who take on Leicester City in 15th, both not doing too well. This is 19th of October as well, 3:00 kickoff. And for this one, we have gone for an under 2.5 goals tip. And the score we've gone for this one is Southampton 1, Leicester City 0.
Yeah, moving on to Arsenal in 3rd. They are traveling to Bournemouth on the south coast. Bournemouth sits 13th, and this game kicks off on Saturday, 19th of October at 5:30 UK time. And again, you visit footballpredictions.net to find your localized kickoff times, TV channels, odds, team news, and more. For this game, we've gone for both teams to score prediction. And that's the main prediction. And we have gone for an Arsenal 2-1 win.
Next, we have Wolves, who are bottom, who take on Manchester City, who are 2nd. And this one's on Sunday, 2:00 UK time, 20th of October. And we've gone for both teams to score in this one as well. Yeah, we think Wolves will get a goal. And for a correct score prediction here, we've gone for Wolves 1, Man City 2.
Yeah, and here's the big one of the weekend. It is Chelsea away to Liverpool in 1st, Chelsea in 4th. It kicks off on Sunday, 20th of October at 4:30 UK time. Once again, visit the website for all the latest details of this match, including where to watch it in your local area. Now, here we have gone for both teams to score prediction and a Liverpool 2-1 win.
Next up, we've got Forest 10th, who take on Palace 18th. It's a Monday game, this one, 21st of October, 8 p.m. kickoff in the UK. And we've gone for an under 2.5 goals prediction for this one. We've gone for a correct score. We think Forest will win, and we think the score will be 1-0. And a reminder, if you do plan to watch matches on Bet365, which you can't do for all these games, but one outside of UK you can, geolocation and live streaming rules apply. Gamble aware, 18+, and use the bonus code FP365 if you're a new customer.
Yeah, and in the description section of this podcast, you'll see the links to all the games we've just been discussing. Simply head to footballpredictions.net, and the beauty is that you can have a look at the online places to watch the games from your location while streaming and TV channels, our prediction for different betting markets, team news, plus the latest offers and odds.
And if you weren't aware, we record these football podcasts for additional competitions as well as the Premier League, and you can hear them all at podcast.footballpredictions.net or on YouTube or Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your favorite podcasts from. Well, that's all. Thanks for listening. And until the next one, it is
goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Football predictions.